We're going to move on to President Trump's first trip overseas. First Lady Ivanka Trump also taking the world stage as they travel across the Middle East. Our senior White House correspondent Cecilia Vega is traveling with the first family in Jerusalem. Good morning, Cecilia.
Hey, George, good morning to you. 2 days in Saudi Arabia, and President Trump never once publicly mentioned the issue of human rights. His aides say that he pressed leaders privately behind the scenes. Speaking to that room packed with Muslim leaders, President Trump made his message clear.
We are not here to tell other people how to live, what to do, who to be, or how to worship.
It was Melania Trump who sent a different kind of message, stepping off Air Force One without a headscarf. In this religiously conservative country where it can be seen as a sign of disrespect, the Saudis welcomed her with open arms. A far cry from First Lady Michelle Obama, whose bare head sparked controversy in 2015. Among her critics at the time, Donald Trump, who tweeted, "We have enough enemies." Both the First Lady and First Daughter met with local women during their trip. Ivanka Trump telling a group of leaders their country's progress is encouraging, but there's still a lot of work to be done. At an all-women business center, Melania Trump was asked about work-life balance. Her response? You need to balance and find the time. But outside in the capital of Riyadh, we saw the harsh reality. Day? As a woman here in Saudi Arabia, I wouldn't even be allowed to go into this door at a McDonald's. I would have to go through this side that says family section, completely segregated. There is a wall here that keeps the women separate from the men. And night. One of the basic rights that women in Saudi Arabia still don't have, they're not legally allowed to drive. Most women rely on a driver or even Uber. Even if President Trump didn't publicly address the plight of women in Saudi Arabia, it was part of his visit anyway. Country star Toby Keith held a free concert. American flags lined the stage, but in the audience, men only. Women not allowed. And this photo of a sea of men at a technology event the president attended sparked controversy online. A Saudi official fired back with a photo of his own, saying the center does have women here on the second floor. Yeah, women on the second floor there in that building. So again, the president and his senior advisors tell us that the strategy for him was to press these issues very directly behind the scenes. George, they say that his approach is to raise these issues quietly and to expect results.
Okay, Cecilia, thanks very much. Let's talk now to Anita McBride, who served as Chief of Staff to First Lady Laura Bush. Anita, thanks for joining us this morning. You know, you prepared for trips like this in the past, but this one really unique, a high-profile role for the First Lady and the First Daughter.
Yes. And isn't the president lucky to have them as added surrogates and advocates for him on this trip? It is an important trip. And to start in Saudi Arabia, we know, of course, it's the most gender-segregated country in the world, but they are making reforms, and they're doing it on their own timetable. And I remember King Abdullah saying that to Mrs. Bush in a private meeting that he had with her. This has to be done according to their norms and culture. And the diversification of their economy, moving away from oil, has allowed women to enter the workplace and to contribute to their economy. And that helps to give them a seat at the table incrementally. And I think that's one thing the First Lady and both Ivanka Trump alluded to in their visits yesterday.
Right, they did speak out about women's empowerment, but some critics say they didn't go far enough.
And you know what? I think there was one point that Cecilia said, too, in her piece. The president was not there to lecture, and Americans really shouldn't be there to lecture, but to push the point on human rights and women's rights, if it's done quietly, that is appropriate, George. And again, it takes time for these changes to happen. And they are. And you heard the president of the World Bank mention yesterday, too, that even this Women's Economic Empowerment Fund is taking off even a lot faster than he predicted. And that is something that will help and contribute to women in Saudi Arabia.
And we did see
well.
that President Trump criticized First Lady Michelle Obama for not wearing a headscarf there in Saudi Arabia, but neither did Laura Bush.
Right, and you know, and he shouldn't have done that, and that just shows, you know, again, he was not steeped in the issues of protocol. He's not a politician, and he's not a diplomat, and he's learning, and clearly this is a great example of that. And Robin knows, because Robin traveled with us in 2007 with Mrs. Bush. None of us wore headscarves, and we were talking about issues that were very edgy at the time, breast cancer. no Saudi woman or man mentioned that word in public. So
And
again, these steps are moving slowly.
And Anita, I remember being there at the hotel with Mrs.
Right.
Bush, and I went to work out, and I didn't know
Yes.
that there was a workout for the women. I went to the big gym, and they did. And they came and got me, and they said, "No, you have to go to another one." And part of me wanted to speak out, and then part of me was like, "I'm there with Mrs. Bush," and so I know what you're talking about, but I did, as myself, go and talk to people, but I could not do as much as I wanted to.
Right, and as
as
a Western woman, that we get our back up on that. But again, I think even in the time since we were there, Robin, the steps are coming slowly.
Yes.
Women are able to vote in local elections. King Abdullah, who you had met with us and Mrs. Bush, really was committed to reforms, but again, at a timetable of their choosing, not ours.
I remember that moment.
Anita McBride, thanks very much.